freedom. To thy own self be true.
Good morning. This is Jean-Baptiste de Rosamond coming to you from Springfield, Oregon. And happy Bastille Day. Vive la France. Vive the Paris Accord to save our planet, our world from destruction. I own the world this morning, and the world owns me. I am free. I have done the work. I have a new family. I consider myself a son of Pearl Buck, who never had any children. Therefore, she left $150 million to the people of Marin County. And today, the Buck Trust, the Burl Buck Trust, is almost worth $1 billion. And my family history and other history that's so amazing, which I found yesterday and this morning, is going to be forever tied to the Buck Foundation, because the law firm of Heisinger, Morris, and Buck handled aspects of the Burl Buck Foundation and Trust. And indeed, it's just too good to be true. I'm almost frozen, you know. I don't have to put on any animation. Oh, there's a big spider up there, you know. Oh, spider, be free, run around, enjoy yourself. You know, they say, oh, look at this, he's nuts. This is proof. This is proof of what Heather Hansen has been saying about her father. He's a diabolical, crazy man. That doesn't work anymore, because I don't have a family anymore. Finally, I'm free. I'm reborn. I am a son of Buck. Burl Buck. What an extraordinary woman. You know, she said to the people of Marin, she said, you are my children. I want you not to want. I want you to lay down in green pastures. The least amongst you will have a share of my fortune, of my good fortune. I don't want any hungry people in Marin County. And our poor people. Unfortunately, poor people can't live there because the rents, it's the highest rent owned per capita place on earth. The average home goes for almost $1 million. So the poor people can't live there to enjoy the monies from this trust, which are just, they can't give it away fast enough. They can't come up with a viable program, which is why I'm here. This is why I was born. This is my destiny, is to bring purpose and meaningful resolve to this ongoing probate. It's called the Super Bowl probate. So now, when you add the Rosamond probate, handled by a Buck, member of the Buck family, you've got the most extraordinary fight over a legacy the world has ever known. I don't know, maybe Caesar had a bigger one, maybe some of the emperors of Rome, seem to be reading about that. So here's the link. All my legal history, all this legal history, coming from me and the will of Christine Rosamond Benton is all good now. It's all tied in with the Bucks with this. On June 3rd, 1994, this court appointed Helen Winterhalter to serve as special administrator of this estate. At the hearing, attorney Robin Berry objected on the record that Mrs. Winterhalter would not be qualified or bondable. Judge Silver entertained Mrs. Berry's argument, but then specifically ruled that Mrs. Winterhalter would be sufficiently qualified to administer a simple estate such as this, and also that she would be bondable. At a meeting the next day, see, this is, I can connect this to great artists and great writers, and a great story, just unbelievable. I'm now got a call for several co-authors to help me get these books up. At a meeting the next day, Mrs. Berry, did I tell you Mrs. Berry was Garth Benton's divorce attorney that Vicky talked to at least once a day for a month or so after our sister died? Drowned, supposedly? Well, yeah, she did drown, but how in the world did she get in the water? That's the question. Mrs. Berry again expressed her opinion to me, and that me is Shannon Benton, Rosamond, lawyer, that Mrs. Winterhalter was not qualified or bondable, and the San Francisco attorney Lawrence J. Chasen should serve. How diabolical is this? Mr. Chasen had appeared before the Judge Silver with Mrs. Berry at the June 3rd, 1994 hearing and attempted to be appointed. Over the specific argument of Mrs. Berry, Judge Silver refused to appoint Mr. Chasen, period. Neither Mrs. Berry nor Mr. Chasen disclosed to the court the very critical fact that Mr. Chasen was the largest single creditor's, has the largest single creditor's claim against the state, and is a former business partner and business associate of Garth Benton, who the court had removed as special administrator just moments before. I mean, that's one paragraph, folks. There it is. There's their undoing right there. That's the marriage, the legal marriage between the Buck Foundation and the Rosamond legacy forever. This is found in the Superior Court of Monterey. Now, who is Larry Chasen? He is a partner in Plumjack, who alcohol justice and charge for harm went after. They actually picketed one of the Plumjack restaurants where wine is being pushed. I mean, these people push wine because they have a winery. And so alcohol justice went after them, and they lost a big legal case, okay? Because Mayor Gavin Newsom vetoed their legal efforts. Well, Gavin Newsom is a business partner of Larry Chasen, who was a business partner of Rosamond, the famous Rosamond. You know, and he had the single largest claim. You know, this is unheard of. You know, I'll come for the rent. He had Christine's furniture hauled off in the probate. I mean, in the bankruptcy, when she filed bankruptcy, he managed to get in there and haul off her antique furniture that we see pictures of, you know. Mrs. Berry specifically informed me not to contact Mrs. Winterhalter to submit Janet Rosamond's estate plan, but from the facts available to me without yet having had the opportunity to take the deposition of Mr. Chasen or Mrs. Berry, it is my professional opinion that Mrs. Berry telephoned Mrs. Winterhalter and unfairly presented the simple estate as being beyond her capabilities, so that upon her declination, Mrs. Berry and Mr. Chasen then sidestepped Silver's ruling to take another attempt at manipulating control of the state and disregard and express of implied intent of Christine Rosamond. Mrs. Berry also informed me that Kevin Comstock, the agent of Seaboard Surety, had decided that Mrs. Winterhalter could not qualify for a surety bond to administer this simple estate. Although Judge Silver had previously ruled that Mrs. Winterhalter would be qualified and bondable and Mr. Chasen could not serve, Mrs. Berry then attempted to persuade me to enter into a stipulation which would appoint Mr. Chasen. Exhibit A is my notice to Mr. Chasen of violations of the California rules of professional conduct and requests for deposition dates. This is an attempt to defraud the state of my late sister to get around her last wishes. It's an outrage. And a lot of people are in on this attempt, including Vicky, and I believe Jackie Belford, and eventually Stacy Perot, and my brother Mort Presco. They knew what was going on here. Vicky dropped out as executor, appointed Garth Benton instead of Jackie Belford. These were the first name, second name executors. Okay, so this is the tide of plum check. And I'm an alcoholic with 30 years of sobriety, and I'm a Nazarite. The Nazarites took a vow where they never drank wine again. And this is part of my program of recovery and my spiritual program. I'm writing a book on the Nazarites. So let's look at what this whole book, chapter on Daniel L. Simon. And he looked like he was an attorney. I think he still is. I believe he was with Circle Galleries, the owner of Circle Galleries. He's talking about Ira Roberts. Kaplan Cohen. I believe I talked with Ira Cohen. Extraordinary chapter. Christine also showed me some of her work and gave me at least some idea of what was going on at Ira Roberts. I said that we need to get an accounting and then do what we could to negotiate the deal. The sense I had of it was that she really wanted both ends of the deal. She didn't want her images printed frivolously, but she did want to realize as much money as she could from the sale of her work. I guess this is the attorney that Christine hired to sue Ira Cohn or Ira Kaplan. And everybody knew about this lawsuit. Okay? Everybody. The whole art world knew about it. Ira Roberts was at the time putting Rosamond images on almost everything that had a printable surface. Posters, postcards, even the wastebaskets. Because her work was so popular and people were buying this stuff. But Christine was really unhappy with the way her work was being presented. She felt that she should have artistic control over the application of her images. Yet there is nothing in her agreement that even mentioned artistic control. She was also unclear about whether they owned her oil originals, and it turned out they did. Now, see, that's quite an achievement. When the Rosamond biography website came out, owned by Stacy Perot, came out, 1997, I made copies of it because I knew right away Stacy Perot is not obeying Christine Rosamond's last wishes, and her wishes that were stated in her lawsuit against Ira Roberts Gower. And this is key because she is called the caretaker. And then the custodian. And Sidney Morris of Heisinger, Morris, and Buck agreed. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Let's make this person the owner of it all. This is too complicated. This is too much. Well, it's too complicated because they made it complicated. Like going after Winterhalter. I talked to her. And she would have done fine, but they had a plan. And the plan was to go get a book that my nieces don't see the proceeds of, then make a movie from the book, and the proceeds from the movie my nieces will not see anything of. So here's what Perriot says. In about 4 pages on that website, Rosamond website. Perriot later bought the business from the state, royalties from which go to Rosamond's daughters, Drew, now 11, and Shannon, 28. Perriot had a determined vision of where she wants the business to go. A poster of Rosamond's creation, Duncan the Frog, will be distributed to children in hospitals. T-shirts and tote bags will also be produced featuring the whimsical character. Perriot says all manner of upscale merchandising is contemplated using the images from Rosamond's paintings, bed linens, throw pillows, and other elegant household items. Well, I'm going to try to find this legal case that Daniel Simon represented Rosamond in against Ira Roberts and see exactly what Christine was saying. Because this goes against it. This is a betrayal. And this is the biggest mistake any executor, special executor, that's who Sidney Morris is, appointed by Judge Silver because of the fight that Robin Berry started, because she wanted to continue the divorce, even though it was over. And one of the people involved in this divorce case is dead. But she wanted it to extend it to to go after Shannon Rosamond, the adulterer. That's what that bitch did. What a witch. And you're going to find a lot of witches at Carmel going on around this. Withalter said, whoa, yeah, this is over my head. I mean, what is going on? What in the world is going on? There's fraud everywhere. There's, you know, people breaking the law, people thinking they're God, people pushing people around. So, let's get to this frog. Christine didn't do this frog. Sandra Faulkner did. The first person that allegedly Christine hired herself to help her with her autobiography. I had my doubts, and I wrote Sidney Morris. I says, you know, if she has notes from my sister in regards to her autobiography, then these notes and her contribution belong to my nieces, not Stacy Perio. Boom, she was out of there. And I looked on her website and I found the frog described here. This is from a person that's got some sobriety, and I guess it was in Christine's AA meeting. And she was just such a joy to be with. People were just attracted. Growing pensive for a moment, Marion smiles in remembrance. It was Christine's sense of humor, I think, that I enjoyed most about her. I went into the gallery on Dolores Street once, and Christine was working on a painting of a frog for a children's book, I believe. It was entitled Splash, and I still have it over the bathtub at my home in Palm Springs, and it is every bit Christine. Marion describes the little frog, layered with Rosamond's sense of the comedic. Ever the contier, Christine had placed over the frog's green skin a little striped bathing suit. What book? The person who is writing children's book is Sandra Faulkner, who Vicky said astounded with the $5,000 advance. But that was just to get me off the trail, okay? Because she saw, I believe Sandra Faulkner saw what was going on. I believe she was dismissed because they wanted the movie and the